Hello everyone. So today we're going to start a new unit. The name is High Flyers. As always, we're going to start with our unit objectives. So here are our unit objectives. So on functions we have talking about achievements, talking about the past, asking for information about the past, talking about the weather. For grammar, we have past simple for was, wasn't, were, weren't, and there was or there were. Also past simple for was he, were, you, and past simple for regular verbs. On vocabulary, we have time expressions on past and the weather. So let's start our lesson. Please go to page 92. So we have a list of these words. So we have achievements that we need to match with these pictures. So let's read the words first, then we can see the picture. So we have achievements: astronaut, factory, skydiving, spacecraft, and stamps. And for the pictures we have this. So we have B, it's number one, it's achievements. So these guys or these players, I don't know if they are football players, they achieve. This is one of their achievements, so achieve their goal and they won the cup or they won the championship. So we still have A and C, and here we have, you can see these pictures also. So let's go to number one and let's see A. What is A? So what can we see here on this picture? We can see this man is just like he's in the sky. So we call this kind of sport, we may call it a sport, we call it skydiving. So A is skydiving, number 4. And for C, what can we see here? These are different stems from different countries of the world. So we can see Finland, Spain, or España, Paris, and other stems. So this is stems. Here on D, so on this place we can see that they make or they product cars. So we call this place that make products or product products or make things like that we sell. It could be cars, it could be tables, it could be doors, it could be windows, it could be boards, it could be anything. So we call this place a factory. A factory. And on E, so what we can see on this picture, it looks like an airplane, but it's not an airplane, but we can see it's in the space. So this one is a spacecraft. So it's the one they use it to travel, for example, to the moon, to Mars, to any of these places that they go to outside the Earth. And the last one, of course, is an astronaut. Very good. So let's read or let's see the correct answers. So the first one, number 4, skydiving. C or B is achievements. And 6 or C is 6 stamps. So we have number 3 for D is factory, and E for number 5 spacecraft, and F number 2 astronaut. Very good. So we need to go to exercise number 2. So we have these two people. I said look at the two photos or look at the photos and answer these questions. So we have these photos. A lot of people know these people, so we will see if you know them or no. I will tell you a few things about them. So we need to answer these questions. So what are the names of the two people? Where were they from? Or why are they famous? So we need to know the names and the place where they are from, or they were from, because they are dead now, both of them. And why they are famous. So let's answer the questions. Okay, let's see. So we have, I already marked the picture. So this is the picture. So the first one on the left, it's very known woman. They call her Mother Teresa. And the one on the right is Nelson Mandela. So this Mother Teresa is from Macedonia. It's in Western Europe, or Eastern Western Europe. No, Eastern Europe. In Eastern Europe, Macedonia. She was from there, but she's very known for her charity work. So she likes to do a lot of charity. She helps sick people and poor people. Also, she contributed in a lot of, or she made an associations that help orphans and different people in need. Nelson Mandela, he is a very known person. He's a politician. He went to jail for 27 years because he was fighting against racism in South Africa. And after that, he became the president of South Africa. So let's answer the questions. So the first one, so we have, Mother Teresa, she's from Macedonia. Why are they famous? Well, she was famous for her charity work. She helps orphanages, helping poor and sick people all over the world. Well, that's all. Well, for Nelson Mandela, he is from South Africa. He was the president of South Africa in 1994. He went to jail for 27 years for fighting against racism. Good. So these are the pictures again. So now let's go and read the text that we have. So it was her dream to be an astronaut. So I will read for you. Let's talk about Valentina Tereshkova. So Valentina Tereshkova was born in Russia on the 6th March 1937. Her father was a driver and her mother was a factory worker. Valentina was a worker in a factory too. Her hobby was skydiving, and it was her dream to be an astronaut and to go into space. In 1962, there was a big competition to find new astronauts. There were 400 people interested in going to space. The training program wasn't very easy, but Tereshkova was hardworking. She was the lucky one. Tereshkova's big day was 16 June 1963, and she was ready. The name of her spacecraft was Vostok 6, and Tereshkova was the first woman in space. The flight was very difficult because there were many technical problems, and Tereshkova wasn't very well for the most of the flight. She was in space for 3 days. She is the only woman to do a solo space flight. After that, she was very famous all over the world. Her face was on stamps in several countries. In the year 2000, there was a big celebration in London, and Valentina Tereshkova was named the Woman of the Century. At the opening ceremony, the Winter Olympics in Russia in 2014, Valentina Tereshkova was one of the carriers of the Olympic flag. These moments were very important to her. So this is the story of Valentina Tereshkova. We will read again. So Valentina Tereshkova was born in Russia on 6 March 1937. Her father was a driver and her mother was a factory worker. Valentina was a worker in a factory too. Her hobby was skydiving, and it was her dream to be an astronaut and to go into space. In 1962, there was a big competition to find new astronauts. There were 400 people interested in going to space. The training program wasn't very easy, but Tereshkova was hard working. She was the lucky one. She was the lucky one. Tereshkova's big day was 16 June 1963, and she was ready. The name of her spacecraft was Vostok 6, and Tereshkova was the first woman in space. The flight was very difficult because there were many technical problems, and Tereshkova wasn't very well for most of the flight. She was in space for 3 days. She is the only woman to do a solo space flight. After that, she was very famous all over the world. Her face was on stamps in several countries. In the year 2000, there was a big celebration in London, and Valentina Tereshkova was named the Woman of the Century. At the opening ceremony of Winter Olympics in Russia in 2014, Valentina Tereshkova was one of the carriers of the Olympic flag. These moments were very important to her. Very good. So let's go and answer the questions, or put into order the questions that we have here, or the sentences. So we have exercise number 5 on page 92. So we have these sentences that we need to read, and we need to put them in the order, to classify them, or to make them in the correct order. So we have Tereshkova was in space for 3 days. She was named Woman of the Century. She was the carrier of the Olympic flag. So there was a competition to find new astronauts. Valentina Tereshkova was born. So obviously we will start from the beginning as always. So Valentina Tereshkova was born. So E is number 1. So Valentina Tereshkova was born is number 1. Then what else did we have? So after that, according to the sentences we have, so there was a competition to find a new astronaut. So D is number 2. So there was a competition to find new astronauts. So E number 1, D number 2. Then A is number 3. Tereshkova was in space for 3 days. Then after that we have, so she was named Woman of the Century is number 4, and the last one, she was the carrier of the Olympic flag. Very good. So let's see the correct order here, and let's read it. So Valentina Tereshkova was born. Number 2, there was a competition to find new astronauts. Number 3, Tereshkova was in space for 3 days. And number 4, she was named Woman of the Century. And the last one, number 5, she was the carrier of the Olympic flag. Awesome. So I guess we will stop here for today. Next time we will see new things. Also, we will have a grammar lesson talking about was, wasn't, and were, weren't. Very good. So see you